Okay, hello everyone out there. It is noon Arizona time, so we are going to go ahead and get started with today's webinar. Wanted to let you know I am broadcasting live on location, although you can't tell because it's like the most boring background ever behind me, from the Palmdale Water District here in California. So I had the opportunity to speak yesterday at the League of California Cities Clerks Conference, so their new elections, new laws training. And then my partner Eric Bailey and I are here in Palmdale with the Water District today doing some diversity and inclusion training. So I didn't bring the microphone, so if the sound's a little funny, that might be what's going on. And I'm sorry there wasn't a more exciting background. What's outside the window is basically like a parking lot, so it wasn't anything too exciting for you. So let's go ahead and jump in. Today, as always, this series of webinars is being offered in partnership with the League of Women in Government, which is a national organization committed to enhancing and building more women leaders in local government. So really amazing resource, job boards, connections, articles, content. If you're not familiar with them, definitely check them out because they're pretty amazing. Also wanted to talk about SGR Recruiter. And so SGR is our partner sponsor from this website, or for the webinar series. Sorry, I was trying to scoot something around on my screen here. And SGR Recruiter is a service that they offer, and they actually help you find the job prospects you're looking for. So if your organization is looking to bring in some new talent, they're really an amazing resource for you. I'm Nicole Lance. If you're joining me for the first time and don't know anything about me, my background is in nonprofit work and local government. I served almost 13 years in local government in Arizona, one of the founders of Arizona Women Leading Government. I'm the managing partner of Extraordinary Balance, and that's a firm, like I mentioned, my colleague Eric and I are here doing some diversity and inclusion training. We also do executive team retreats, communication retreats, strategic planning, and that sort of thing, primarily for public service entities. My family, I always like to share a little bit about my family. That's my husband, Sean, and my daughter, Emerson, on the left side of your screen. And then that is my stepdaughter, Micah. She's a sailor in the United States Navy, just getting ready to deploy out here in the next couple of months. And so just like to share a little bit about me so you know kind of who's on the other side of the screen here. But these people are the reason that I do what I do, and why I'm committed to building a better world for my stepdaughter and for my daughter, a more inclusive world, one that communicates better, one that connects differently. Today, we're going to do content, Q&A, same format I've been doing. In GoToWebinar, there's a little way in the chat function to go ahead and submit a question if you have one. Please do that at any point in time. I do have you all muted, but I do, if you want to type in a question, we'll go ahead and handle those at the end of the webinar. Okay, so today we're talking about extending your influence, and really kind of want to get to what does that mean when I say that. So extending your influence, what is influence, and why are we talking about this topic, especially in terms of workplace development, leadership development? Influence, the power or capacity of causing an effect in indirect or intangible ways, or sway. The act or power of producing an effect without apparent exertion of force or direct exercise of a command. And so a couple of key words in this section. This idea of influence being something that's indirect, or when you're able to sway someone or something, preferably in the direction that you are trying to get it to go. Also, that idea of doing it without an exertion of force, or that direct command that might be needed. So it's this ability to get stuff done without having to tell someone to do it. It's almost because they want to do it, or you've gained this ability to get it to move in the direction that you want to go, whether it's your career, whether it's an initiative at work, something you're trying to accomplish. Now, why are we talking about this? Why this out of everything? So let's talk about this. I'm sorry, I'm having a couple of issues. Maybe it's being on the road here. Why is this important? This is going to be a really boring webinar if you have to look at that screen the whole time. One, if we want to achieve goals, we need to have influence. And I'm not talking about one-upping someone or having something on them, whatever it is, but I mean actual influence over other people or over initiatives, things that we want to move forward if we want to achieve those goals. 2, we want to increase efficacy. Influence is a way to do this. Everything moves easier when you're being more efficient. You're not wasting that time. You're able to do more. You're able to be more present with people. You're able to balance ideas, initiatives, things that you're trying to get to in your personal life as well as at work. So you're going to increase your efficacy. That's another reason why this is important. And the most important part of influence is to get stuff done. Right? We don't go to work to not get stuff done. We go to work to do a job and to move forward in our career. That's why we're there. And this happens outside of work too. So the same principle applies in both kind of universes that we operate in. So really about getting stuff done. Now the how is where I want to focus on today and really give you some of those strategies for that. And so the title of the webinar, this idea of extending our influence, is great if we understand it. Great if we understand why it's important, but the how do we actually extend that influence? How do we actually increase our impact in those areas? How are we able to do that? So, okay, couple of things, couple of strategies here. Building a powerful professional reputation is hands down one of the most important ways that you're going to extend influence. How do we do that? Knowing that we need to have that powerful professional reputation in order to have influence. What are some of the ways we can do that? A quick disclaimer on that. I don't mean you have to have achieved a high positional level of authority. So that's a powerful position. I'm talking about your reputation, who you are, how people know and understand you. So let's talk about strategies for building those authentic connections, which is how you're going to build that reputation, and also a powerful presence. That's how you start to build out that reputation. People that know you and how you are showing up in the workplace. So first and most important item, and there's a couple of you that are listening today that we have had direct conversations about this, is build your coffee list. And so what I mean by this is we often confuse networking or building out relationships with something that takes so much time and it's impossible to get to, and holy cow, how are we ever actually going to be able to fit this in with everything? It can't possibly be done. Take people to coffee, meet people for coffee, do it over a video screen if you need to, but build what I call the coffee list. Who are the people that could be influential for you? Either to help you get something you're trying to get, achieve something you're trying to achieve, or simply who have really powerful professional reputations already themselves that it would be wise to know a little bit better. Build that list, and then those are the people that you want to meet for coffee with. It's really that simple, but we overcomplicate it in our heads. So the permission I'm giving is for it to be as simple as this. Calling up the person that you want to meet, even if it's a cold call and they don't know you, better if you can have someone make the connection first or use some sort of shared experience to pave the way. I did this once. I was looking at making a change in my career, and so I went through the list of 50 most influential women in Arizona. There's an annual list that's published. And I identified the top 7 people that I wanted to meet because I thought they looked really interesting and they were working in areas where I thought I wanted to explore. And I cold called them and I said, "Hi, my name is Nicole Lance. I saw your name on the list of 50 most influential women. I'm really intrigued by how you've been successful in your career. I'd love to know a little bit more about your story. Would you be willing to meet for me for a quick 30-minute coffee meetup?" And it was that simple. And not everyone said yes, but most of them did. So simple yet really effective, really powerful strategy. So build that coffee list and then start setting up those coffee meetings. Next strategy around this in terms of building both those authentic connections and that powerful presence is say yes as much as you can. So disclaimer on this, I don't mean overcommit yourself. I don't mean say yes without discretion. I don't mean sacrifice yourself inordinately. What I do mean, though, is in the workplace, whether it's immediately where you work or within your industry, there will be opportunities to get involved in different ways, which can help you show up and kind of build that reputation out. Early in my career in the city of Maricopa, I had two opportunities. One really early on, the city was looking for volunteers to sit at the City of Maricopa staff booth at the Salsa Festival. So it was a huge event in the city, and they literally just needed people to stand at the city booth and hand out information all day. And I raised my hand for that, even though, you know, it probably wasn't the most thrilling way for me to spend a Saturday. But the reason I did it was because it did two things for me. One, it was, oh, sorry, my lights turned off. You're gonna love these energy saving measures. I'll keep moving around more. One, it put me visibly in front of the city. So my name was now attached to the City of Maricopa. People in the community, people on council, people on staff saw me there. Number two, it allowed me proximity to important people, because who stands at the city booth at the Salsa Festival? The mayor, the council members, the directors, the managers, they all stop by. And so it was a good way for them to get to know me in a really passive way that also served a need in the organization. I also had the opportunity to help a department out with their budget. There was a department that had lost their budget analyst. It was budget time. They were really struggling. And I said, hey, you know, on my off hours, I'd be happy to do all the data entry for you, but could I come and see the process in your department for how you're making decisions? And they said, absolutely. And so I worked it out with my supervisor. And it was a good way to, again, serve the need in the organization, but two, put me in a different proximity and relation to people that I wanted to know better and gain a skill set that I didn't have. Same thing for volunteering for events. That picture down the corner is a touch a truck event, some of those ones. So again, those times, those where you can be of service, but also be visible and meeting new people. Serving on a state association board, if you're in local government management, regardless of whatever your industry is, can you serve? So I decided to say yes and served a term on the Arizona City and County Management Association board, thinking it would be a 1 or 2 year gig. I ended up as the president of the organization, which was really valuable for my career. So you never know what saying yes to some of those seemingly simple opportunities can lead to. Okay, next, keep building awareness. We've talked about awareness before, but keep building awareness around how you show up at work. So there's the way that we think we do, and then there's the way that we're actually being received or perceived by other people. So I love this series of slides just to kind of make light of it. So what I think I look like with smoky eyes and how I actually look, what I'm thinking and how other people are actually seeing me. What I think I look like after work, and then what I actually look like after work. And I'm pretty sure I've had way more Chris Farley days than not. How I tell people my life is going and how my life is actually going. So sometimes we have that misalignment between what we want other people to see and that real authentic kind of experience of what's going on. And then how I think I handle stress versus how I actually handle stress. So how can we make sure that we're being perceived the way that we want to at work? A couple strategies around that. Before I get into be genuinely curious, one of the ways that you manage that, how are we showing up at work, is to ask other people and be willing to hear the answer. Hey, I'm trying to come across as confident and powerful in that meeting. Did I come off as cocky instead? Or I really wanted to be seen as knowledgeable. Did that come across when I did that presentation? I was really nervous. Did that hinder it? So asking for some of that help. Being genuinely curious is another good way, that kind of an extension of that, beyond being curious about how we're being perceived, being curious about other people. So taking time to ask that question. I've shown that meme before. When I ask how your weekend was, please provide a one-word reply. Meaning I want to check the box of connecting meaningfully at work, but I don't have time for it. So be genuinely curious. Sorry, the lights keep going off. I thought I was moving enough. It's really good for my ego today. Be genuinely curious about other people. Ask those questions and get to know them, because that's how you build those authentic relationships, and people will respond to that. People love to share their stories. So when you slow down long enough to ask, it's a great way to build out your reputation, even though all you're doing is getting to know them. Okay, invest the time. Just touched on that a little bit. We give a lot of excuses for why we don't connect with other people at work. why we don't make time for the coffee list, why we don't volunteer for the booth at the salsa festival. And we always say this, there's not enough time, I'm too busy. If you are serious about extending your influence, this now rises to the level of something you invest time in, which means you put it on your calendar, you keep it sacred, and you look for opportunities to actually do this. So actually investing the time, because hope is not a method. Hope is not a method. It's not going to get you anywhere. So are you actually making time for this? Another way, totally different strategy, different kind of realm, a way to build that kind of powerful professional presence is to practice something that I call the 8-second wait. Now, my dad was a K-8 principal for 37 years, and he said over his 3.5 decades of work, what he found was the average time it would take a K through 8th grader school kid to break or to like spill the beans was about 8 seconds. And so the way this works in practice is, let's say you're in the workplace and you want to surface an idea. And so you state your idea and you're waiting for the other person to respond. Now, waiting 8 seconds is about the amount of time it will take for them to start talking. So I just paused for 8 seconds. If you were uncomfortable or started to worry about the audio or, is Nicole, is the internet going, what's going on? That's because that amount of time is enough for the other person to be uncomfortable. Now the trick is, what we normally do is we interrupt ourselves, we interrupt our own 8 seconds. And so therefore, we don't even give the other person opportunity to respond. So we'll say something like, what do you think about revising the parade route? And then the other person starts to take more than just a couple seconds to respond. And what goes through your head is, oh crap, they hate this. This was a terrible idea. I shouldn't have said it. And you interrupt their own thinking process and you say, you know what, it was a silly idea. Let's just keep it the way it is. And then you negate your own idea. Practicing the 8-second wait is going to be really powerful. One, for making sure your ideas get fully communicated. Two, making sure you're not negating your own ideas. And number three, when it is in a conversation where the other person does need to respond to something that's maybe a little bit sensitive or a little bit difficult, it's going to really give them some room to respond first, and it's going to put you in the power position of responding back to them rather than being the person that has to steer that next part. So it's a great way to get information from people too. Kind of a simple little tactic, but really effective. Okay, next. Actively support others. I cannot state this enough. Make time to be a mentor to someone else. People will see it, and the people that receive the benefit of your mentorship will remember it. And both of those are really great ways to extend your influence and build that reputation. So if you're sitting there thinking, I don't have anything to teach anybody, I'm too early in my career, whatever it is, all the excuses, get over it. There is someone that you can give to. So maybe it's amplification in a meeting. They have a statement that they make and it's getting kind of railroaded or trampled on. Go ahead and echo what they said and say, hey, you know what? I really liked what Jen said, especially that part about, and then echo what they said. That's amplification. So actively supporting others is going to make them feel good. It's going to make you look good, frankly. And in the end, you're going to have a better relationship and people are going to see you in a different light. So don't skip that part as an investment in your own influence building. All right, make yourself visible. I was trying to think about exactly how to word this, but being visible, you have to be seen. So I love that people are hard workers and they go in and they do their job and they work all day really hard and they produce great work and then they go home. But sometimes that's not enough for influence. You have to be in places where people can see you. So I don't mean wearing like neon colors and reflective whatever to work. But I mean getting on the committee at work when they solicit someone for the Christmas holiday season canned food drive. Could you volunteer on that? Is that a way that, holy cow, when that goes to the council meeting for recognition, I get to stand up with everybody. People will see me differently. Go to meetings, obviously if they're public meetings or trainings that are offered that you may or may not actually need to be at, but if you're interested or you know there are important people attending those, that's a great place to be seen. So that's, again, another just really easy kind of tactic. Making yourself visible is a good way to build your influence. Do good work. I hate that I have to even say this, but I've seen this happen a number of times where people skip this step, and they literally don't do good work anymore. And so they're so busy trying to be visible. They're so trying to touch base with other people. They're so all over the place, whatever, that the work quality suffers. This has to be fundamental and taken care of first before you do anything else. So make sure you're doing good work. Oops. Okay. Kind of last piece on this, build your army of advocates. I've touched on this in earlier webinars, but it bears repeating here specifically for the point of building influence. Your network is a group of people you know. That's awesome. That's great. But your army of advocates are people who are equipped with your story and willing to actively help you do something about it. They know your story and they're willing and able to actively help you do something about it. It's the person that you know that when you apply for a position somewhere, they will call the hiring authority, whether they know them or not, or they'll drop them an email and say, hey, I just want to let you know, Sean's resume is in the pile and you should take a look at him. He's pretty awesome as a candidate. That's what being an advocate is, and that's what you want to cultivate. And those start with the coffee list. They start with simple meetings, but those need building up over time. You need to be able to tell them your story, let them know what you need, what you're trying to do, and also make sure that they understand, what you're looking for. What are you trying to accomplish? And then there are those people that will go, ooh, let me connect that person to that person. How could we do that differently? How could we do that better? Okay. To the Q&A portion of this, I'm just going to scroll through my questions real quick and see who we've got here. So feel free to go ahead and submit them in through the questions portion of the GoToWebinar part. And let me pull. We got one here. Okay. Hey Nicole. You mentioned being genuinely curious as a strategy for building authentic relationships with other people. I try to do this at work and it feels like the other people aren't responding to it, or it seems like I'm bugging them. So other people, I'm trying to be authentically curious, but other people aren't responding, or it seems like I'm bugging them. Okay, so a couple things on this. Number one, when and where are you being genuinely curious? If it's in the ladies' room while they're doing their business in the ladies' room, probably not your best place for success in that realm. Two, be sensitive to their social cues at work. Are they really busy? Do they look distracted? Do they have a full schedule? And maybe you need to schedule time on the calendar instead of just dropping by. Even if it's someone that says, I have an open door policy, stop by anytime, sometimes scheduling a meeting is going to be the best way to go if you're actually looking to connect with that person. Number two, consider what you're asking them. So kind of skipping the steps of building the relationship and going straight to, what was the biggest mistake you ever made in your career? Might be kind of getting ahead of where the relationship's at, and that might be why they're not responding to you. So my core questions I always like to ask are, one, starting with a compliment. I've been really impressed with where you've gotten to in your career. I'd love to know your story of how you became successful and got to where you're at. Simple, sweet, easy, something they can respond to. Let them give that feedback, and then ask some of those follow-up questions. And that's the genuinely curious part. So really make sure you're setting that up for success in terms of time and what you're asking, and that should alleviate some of that. The quick piece though about I feel like I'm bugging them, make sure you're not overreacting to their response. Like what you might be perceiving as bugging them, they might be perfectly fine with. So a great way to address that is to ask it outright. Is it okay if I spend just a couple minutes chatting with you about whatever your topic is? They may tell you no, and then you say, okay, thank you. And you do your 8-second wait, you stop talking, and then you just move on to the next one. So I think that should hopefully help you navigate through it. Okay, let me look at a couple of these other ones. Hey, Nicole, I liked what you said about being visible. I graduated undergrad 2 years ago, and I'm currently working as an administrative assistant. I'm very busy, and I know my boss is happy with my work, but I do want to do more. How can I be more visible when I'm already crazy busy with the current workload? Okay, so this one can be tough. We are all busy people, and I'm going to say we are all and make that assumption. Because most of the people that I connect with and the people that I'm finding through the league or through my own connections are high achievers. You're on these because you want to grow and develop. When you are that busy with purely the job, and all of us are, and sometimes, and certainly sometimes a year or even times a day, it's harder. Consider that those direct hours that you're at work may not be where you build that impact and influence. It might need to happen outside of those hours or in addition to those hours. So if you don't take your lunch break, and you haven't heard me talk about this before, you're going to get it today. If you do not take your lunch break to actually do lunch or connect with other people or work on your own professional no. Okay. Uh-oh. Can you see me back there? Oh no. Uh-oh. Okay. Let's go back to this. Can you see me out there? No. Uh-oh. Okay. Yes. Okay, so you can still see me? All right. We were talking about her question of, being too busy for this outside of work. Use your lunch hour. Please, 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 please use your lunch hour. This is really critical. Make sure you invest that time, not just for you, but for meeting other people. Find those places that you can volunteer that time within your industry. So be with other people that can help you connect differently. And I'm sorry, I know the screen looks kind of crazy right now. I'm trying to fix that. Okay, so connect with those other people, do the coffee list, but see if there's another way you can be seen by other people. Ask for the opportunity to attend meetings. So that's such a huge, massive one, and we don't ask for that opportunity or for that help. So make sure that you're asking for that. You would be surprised how many people will say yes. Obviously, make sure you clear it with your boss, make sure they clear it with whoever needs to be there, but ask for some of those opportunities. And then again, getting into those places where you can volunteer or mentor, assist, maybe staff a committee differently, even if it's helping make copies, the world of difference you make for that one person you're helping can really go a long way towards showing who you really are to all these other people. Okay, so let's wrap this up. I want to talk about, because I don't see any more questions coming in, I'm going to be kicking off a new series in the first part of the year. Now, what I'm doing this time is a little different. I'm going to keep on the same topic, and I'm going to delve into it a little deeper. So it's going to kind of build from month to month to month of how we respond to fearful things. Sorry, I'm getting a note here that someone had a question. So hopefully you can submit that through the questions to see if I can tackle it. If not, shoot me an email. But really delving into fear and the way that it affects us, both at work and on the personal side, and really getting deep into strategies to move through that. Because one, a lot of us think we aren't fearful or don't think that that's something that we struggle with, and we really are. So want to build out some of that content for you, because as I've been doing coaching, as I've been doing trainings, this is coming up over and over and over again as something that women leaders especially are really struggling with. Okay, so reminder on SG Recruiter, if you are looking for a position, Or if you are looking to hire someone into your team, amazing, amazing resource. I encourage you to check them out. Their website's on the screen, sgrecruiter.com. Really fantastic for you. And then as always, I'd love to connect with you. That's all my information on there. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. My email's up there. And then of course my website. So thanks for putting up with me on location with the lights turning off and getting kicked off the internet and all the rest of it. And just know, as always, I appreciate deeply the work that you do. And if you're coming to these looking for resources to move yourself forward, I appreciate the fact that you are trying to get better and so that you can serve more and more people. Know that from the bottom of my heart, I say thank you for what you do. I wish you a fabulous ending to the decade and an amazing, amazing kickoff to 2020. Thank you so much.